I think what I want to hear you talk about is All Hallows as you experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always, in some of the other priests that I've interviewed, was curious as to how they decided on All Hallows as a seminary to go to as opposed to maybe a local seminary. Why, at your age, what were you, 18 or so?
Yes,
time?
18, yes.
Why choose a vocation and a pathway that would take you out of the country right away as opposed to staying closer to home and family?
Yeah.
So if you could start there, and then we'll work our way to your experiences in All Hallows back then, and
yes.
what your thinking is about it now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I finished up high school, and I was in a boarding high school that I really didn't like, and I didn't work.
Was this Sligo?
St. Neots in Ballahadreen, County Roscommon. And I was the oldest of the family, so I was sent there. And I didn't study too well, and I failed the Leaving Cert. But I had thoughts of the priesthood because there was a lot of guys going on for the priesthood. So I came home in the summer, and the next thing, the local parish priest, who was one of my teachers originally in high school, came in to visit. Kind of knew that my mother might have encouraged it, and he encouraged me to go back and do 3 subjects to complete the course and get my degree, or not degree, but certificate. So while I was doing that, I applied for All Hallows, and I got in here. And basically, I wanted to go to America because I had an uncle, a priest, and he went to Los Angeles on loan from the home diocese, but lived out there. Unfortunately, he died when he was only 25 years old. Or not 25 years a priest. And but All Hallows, and then I knew a lot of guys that had gone out there after ordination to the diocese. And so I applied for All Hallows and came here, and loved the environment. Very different. I found out that when I came in here I had to study. There was no choice but to study. But I loved the experience. We had a great crowd in our class, and then we were down here in junior house for 2 years and doing philosophy, and then moved up to senior house, as we called it. And it was here, well, when I came in, there was a lad that I was in school with originally in the same class, and then when I went back, I was the year after him. And he came in and he encouraged me to play football and hurling and everything, because I hadn't done it at the end of high school. And so I got involved in that, and it kept me busy, and I enjoyed the term here. I had little doubts, except one, the last year. We lost a few very good men from our class in our last year, and so I was doubtful then of myself, but I encouraged and stayed on, and I enjoyed it, never regretted it.
And so you left for Los Angeles?
Left for Los Angeles.
Right after that?
Yes. And then I was to come home in the summertime for a short vacation, a couple of weeks. And then when things started going here, you know, reunions and everything started coming back to them, and I've been a regular coming back, and for the past number of years I don't think I've missed hardly any.
Who were the influential people at All Hallows then, or who helped kind of shape, in your estimation, who helped kind of shape the environment, the culture, the education?
Well, yes, there were significant people, I would say, and one of them became our junior dean, Father Tom Lane, and he had a little talk with me one day. And
were the Vincentians involved?
Vincentian, they were all Vincentians, and they had, by law, they had to have 2 diocesan priests, and they usually came from the Meath diocese.
And were they in an administrative position?
No, they were in teaching.
They were faculty.
And I had both of them in philosophy, and I had one of them in theology.
But it was heavily Vincentian at the time?
Heavily Vincentian, yes.
And so Father Tom Lane?
Father Tom Lane would be the one that would the most influence, because I found out very early on that you couldn't fool him. And he told me that I was fooling nobody. So he wanted me to study a lot harder than I was doing. Because when we went in, we did an entrance exam, and of course I was made wise that if you were in the lower part of the class, you weren't expected of much. So after my first year, I had to be in the top 10 for the rest of the time. And it was a good encouragement, because I enjoyed the subjects here, and learned a lot.
What about the influence of Vincentian we talk about, those of us that have been involved with Vincentian education over the years, talk about Vincentian values and what kind of shaped, I think, or what we tried to use to shape the student experience around what St. Vincent taught. How influential was that, or was that a part of your experience?
I think it was a big part of it, but I also think that the two diocesan priests were very much a part of it also.
Okay.
One of them was stricter than the other. Father Martin was a little bit stricter in the teaching, but Father Welch was a great person if you needed to go to him and talk. But like my spiritual director was, he was a Father Dr. Dunning, and he taught at UCD, and a wonderful man. If you needed advice on anything, he'd help you and often encourage me. But it was Father Welch that was the one that when I was going through a period of whether I should stay or go, he was the one that told me to think about it and come back to him in a few weeks. And
one of the I can't remember his last name, Basil that I talked to yesterday, I think is a little bit older.
Yes.
And he talked about, which I find interesting, because he came or was here during the era that he called the John Hand era, and the influence of John Hand in his experience here and his education. And then there's the era of the Vincentians, and then you say the diocesan. So it's two eras, but the commonality was really striking to me. What John Hand was expecting of the priests in terms of being good priests and holy priests and working with people were some of the same values that I've heard folks like you talk about in terms of their education.
Yes.
So it's not really labeled as Vincentian or labeled as John Hand, but in other respects they are, and they're very common. Any thoughts on that?
Yes. But I think more than anything else, here in All Hallows especially, they really prepared us for the outside world, not for Ireland.
Right.
It was a different ways of educating here, I think. From what I gathered, like in Maynooth, they were on degrees, but here it was more pastoral.
Okay.
They taught us a lot of pastoral stuff, helped us to work in parishes and abroad. And we even had some Spanish taught to us, those of us who were going to dioceses that had Spanish in it.
What 5 years out from here, when you were in parish work in the U.S. diocese, what were some of the things that you felt carried you from here, and what did you rely on, I guess, in terms of being able to survive, be effective in your work as a priest and a pastor? What would you attribute to your Hallows experience?
Well, I think that most of all, working in a parish, which I've worked in all my life in parish work, even though I was involved in diocesan administration for a long period of time too, but that was as a priest in a parish. And for about 1.5 years in administration outside, but I was still living in the parish. I think that they prepared you to how you would deal with people and to be outgoing with people and involve people and really mix with people. And when we got to Los Angeles, for example, there were a lot of Irish priests from different colleges that were there, and they kind of took us under our wing until we got settled in America.
Oh, really? Okay.
And of course, naturally, we didn't have any of the Gaelic football or hurling or anything out there, so we all had to learn how to play golf every Tuesday. And the day off was great, and in the evenings we'd have go out to dinner, and we might play a game of cards in the winter time, that kind of thing. And it was great camaraderie.
Yeah.
And I think that was taught to us here in All Hallows. Because we saw it in priests who came out from other seminaries here, and even from the local seminary, and they weren't. Don't want to use the word cliquish, but they weren't in a camaraderie ways like we were with one another, and we were often referred to, by others who would say admire us for when we get to go off in groups to play golf or take a week off or whatever.
those of us who've been around, I remember my parents who were Irish, about the Irish Mafia. And,
Yeah, we were called the Mafia.
And the FBI, the foreign Irish
Yes.
priesthood. Yeah. So I think you all were recognized as having brought something very special to the United States.
Yes.
And, in all of the parishes that you served in the Archdiocese. Chicago, some of the priests that were there did start Gaelic football down on the south side.
Oh yes, yeah.
And it's still goes
Oh yes, I played it out there.
Yeah.
Played it a lot. Yeah, every Sunday afternoon practically.
Looking back right now, your experiences of coming back to All Hallows, and particularly I think this difficult time with the closing. What are some of your thoughts and emotions around this?
Well, there's a sadness in one way, but we saw the writing on the wall in the recent years. That it wasn't going to continue as a seminary, and but what they have allowed us to be here, and it was great now to see that the Jubilee Jubilee days are on schedule for next year.
That's what I understand, yeah.
And I think that's wonderful, but because I kept wondering the other day when I was coming in, if they don't have that, would we be allowed to come on the grounds and walk around type of thing?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine myself coming to Dublin without coming in here. But it's great to have that, because coming in the summertime and meeting the guys that we didn't see, like this weekend now, I met classmates that I hadn't seen in 54 years.
Is that right?
Yeah, since they left before ordination.
Are there many of your class still
There
active?
there are 10 of us here that are active. I think there are about 15 that are active, 15 or 16 that are active out of the 30. And we have 8 who have died. And then we had a number of priests who left the priesthood.
Okay.
And there were a good few of those here.
That's interesting too. I think the community of priests and those that have left, and as I watch them and have while I was here, there doesn't seem to be any difference in terms of members of that particular class or that community.
No, you mix with them all.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's particularly, I think, those that have left that desire to come back and be part of the class is kind of an interesting phenomenon. I was in the seminary, and our group was, when you left, you left.
Yes.
There was no sense of going back, and nor were you encouraged to go back.
Yes.
So it's a little different phenomenon, I think, here than...
Very much so.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful now that we got guys back that had never come in since they left it. And
is that because of this being the last year, or...?
Part of it would be, but also the ways we kind of organised it. I was the representative for the priests that were ordained.
Okay.
And then there was another classmate that wasn't ordained because he was in an accident here and lost his hearing, Hubie Riley. And he was responsible for all the guys that had never been ordained. And he got a number of them that we didn't believe would ever come back.
Really?
And it was great to see them.
Yeah.
Great. Especially there were 2 guys from Newfoundland that came. And I don't know if they'd ever been back in Ireland.
No.
So it was great.
And that's probably a sacrifice for them to come.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Financially and everybody else. Yeah.
Yes.
That's remarkable. And, you hope that spirit continues and that attraction, that connectedness.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. And as long as we have All Hallows priests out in the world, there'll always be gatherings.
Yeah. Tell me about the corridor down here, good morning, the archives.
I didn't take a good look at it yet because I was busy with some of the classmates.
Okay.
But I think it's a wonderful idea, and I know that everybody is talking about it, how good it is to see it, and the archives. So it's, we know that it's different now. We cannot see the class pictures up on the wall like we used to, but in modern times we have our iPads and iPhones and everything. We can always check up on things that way.
It is remarkable, though. I saw it when it was, the pictures up on the wall and then the boards that you had to move to get to the various classes. But I think it's a new technology for...
a new technology, yes.
For maintaining the archives. And at the same time, I think with the garden and and the improvements that are done in that corridor
Yes.
is just
Wonderful. Yes.
I hope it's still inviting for.
Oh, I think it will be.
Back.
From what I gathered now in the last couple of days, I just came up on Wednesday
Yeah.
morning, and from what I gather, the guys are very pleased with what's gone on here.
Good. That's good to hear. Because I wasn't certainly part of it, but I think the work of the staff here, Mary and Andrew and others to make sure that was respectful
Yeah.
and inviting, and that their people still find some strong connection here. And I think
Yes.
they've done an awfully good job. I was impressed with the liturgy yesterday. And
Yeah, it was beautiful,
The connection
yeah.
people had with
Yes,
it.
yeah. And the staff, I think you hit the nail on the head with our present group of staff. For the past number of years, they have been wonderful.
Yeah.
They got to know every priest coming back, and as soon as you come in, they gave you a big welcome and everything.
Yeah.
Especially Mary and some of the others, some of them that have not been here now the
Right.
last couple of years, and they came back this week to see us all and be part
I
of
think
it.
they find it very special, given your respect, your classmates' respect for the college and desire to continue to stay involved, makes it an added incentive for them to
Yes.
make this place very special.
Yes, it does.
And I know they've worked hard in the negotiations with DCU to ensure that the heritage, the archives, and the trust continue to be vibrant. And so we'll see how DCU uses it.
Oh, I'm sure it
But
will.
I think they will.
I think DCU has a good reputation. Well, I have to support it. I had a nephew that went there, and he was in a special program where there was just 10 of them from different places picked to go to a program. Then they went out to Boston, to Northeastern
Okay.
for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And he has really done well from
Has
it.
he?
Yes,
Good.
yes,
Good. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share or leave as kind of a memory that you have that was special for you beyond what you talked about?
Well, I think all of the things that I said are very special. Of course, the grounds, and now I was over looking at the cemetery, and we didn't pay much heed to it when we were here as students because we considered this was the Vincentian Seminary, but I was always part of the grounds crew here.
You were?
And yes, and we, it was great to be involved because I grew up on a farm, so it was like second nature to me to be on the grounds crew. Yeah. But I think that the environment here and the people really speak to it. The buildings are buildings,
Right.
but that's not what it's all about.
And it is about the people.
Yes.
I think, as we've talked, the staff has made it such a special place and continues. I think that experience and environment that you had, I think
Yes,
it just
yeah.
continues on. And
And-
it's the staff that carry it.
And the lay program that was here, I came back for a sabbatical for 3 months.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, and so I got involved with that beginning groups of lay people coming in to do degrees and everything, and it was wonderful
Yeah.
to have them on campus.
It's especially the younger ones. I mean, it was just a real vibrant
Oh yes,
life here. Graduate level too as well, but the undergraduates that were here, I found very special when I was here, and many of them were first generation in their family.
oh yes,
Going to
yeah,
college.
and they're making a big impact in the church in Ireland at the moment.
And hopefully that'll continue.
Yes,
Yeah.
hopefully.
I think it's unfortunate that third level Catholic education is kind of at risk at this point, with
Yes.
so many schools being drawn into the clusters of,
Yes.
of the state schools. I don't think that bodes well
And
for the education of young Catholics
No.
before they go into work environment, family
Yeah.
work.
because
family.
our Catholic schools and Catholic colleges in America are what makes the parishes.
Yeah, but there's concern there too about. I've been doing some work, mission-related work with 5 of the small Catholics in universities in Chicago.
Hmm.
They're under real threat
They are.
because of the financial situation and student recruitment.
Hmm.
And they bring people in to do marketing and promotion, and many of those folks tend to make the message more secular, and mission kind of gets put to the back burner.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've always believed in consulting work I've done for strategic planning and change management, things like that, that if the mission isn't up front in terms of what you're about and what your values are,
Mm-hmm.
you can stray
That's
very
true.
quickly.
Yes. Mm.
And I think there's some of that going on, some of that same sense of being more concerned about career education and professional education, losing some of the liberal studies component of it.
Yes.
You know, it's and the smaller schools really are more a threat in some ways just because of the challenges that they have. But you see it in the larger ones, you know,
Yes, sure.
Paul,
Mm.
St. John's, and
Yes.
places like that. Anyways, we won't go there right
Yes,
now.
no.
But it's good to talk to you. I
Great,
appreciate
thank you.
taking time. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
Yeah.
too. Okay, take
All
care.
right.
God bless.
Are you going back
Sure.
to Los Angeles? You're staying there?
No, I'm here now until October.
All right. And
Yes.
Are you
Retired. I'm retired.
Yeah. Are you intending to move back, or are you going to stay in Los